And we are the Non-Prophets. I'm Denis Loubet, along with Russell Glasser and Ciera Ramirez. We're coming to you live from the Free Thought Library in Austin, Texas on the 21st of March, 2018. This show is sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a non-profit educational organization for the promotion of positive atheism and the separation of church and state. If you want to learn more about the ACA, you can call their voicemail at 512-220-6561 or visit their website at www.atheist-community.org. The Non-Prophets broadcast live every first and third Wednesday of each month from 7:30 to 9 Central Time. You can join the Non-Prophets chat room by following the directions at www.nonprofitsradio.com. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Well, hi there.
Yes, that was an utterly vanilla intro.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an unusual show. Jeff is not here today, and
possible he won't be around for a while.
Yeah. We hadn't really all agreed whether to discuss this,
but I'm going to blurt it out.
All right, blurt it away.
I helped him get the job that's interfering with his being here.
Yeah, Jeff is like working and stuff and making money.
Making money,
and somehow. No, Jeff has been a very busy guy in the atheist community and in the game design world, and he's just gotten a lot busier and may not be available to do the show for a while, but we will soldier on.
That's a good way to phrase it.
And this week we have Ciera filling in. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing good.
So let's get to it.
All right.
Stephen Hawking died in the last couple of weeks, so I guess that's a topic we can talk about.
That was since our last show?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think you're right.
Yeah. He was age 76, and as you guys all probably know, he had motor neuron disease, and yet he continued to do a lot of science for his entire life and produce a lot of books, like the well-known A Brief History of Time, and sort of trailblaze in our understanding of cosmology, both researching scientific topics and also doing a pretty solid job of pitching it to lay people. So he was a pretty good science popularizer, had that wacky computer synthesized voice, which he often would show up on TV shows and that would poke fun at him. And, he was on The Simpsons and
Family Guy.
Yep. And got to go on the Vomit Comet.
I didn't know that.
Yes, they put him on the plane and did some parabolas, and he apparently enjoyed zero-G quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, I imagine for a guy who is in a wheelchair his entire life, or the latter half of his life, that would be enjoyable. Yeah. So pour one out for Stephen Hawking.
But I have heard a little bit of controversy about people commenting on his passing.
Really?
A lot of cartoons showing him at the pearly gates, stepping out of his wheelchair and walking through, and people saying, "Oh, he's free now. He has all his freedom now. He can walk out." We're going, no, he's dead. His death is not freedom.
Yeah. Also, I guess this is a reasonable time to mention he was pretty much an atheist as far as anybody could tell.
Yeah.
He said, I regard the brain as a computer. which will stop working when its components fail. There is no heaven or afterlife for broken down computers. That is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark.
Exactly.
I agree.
And so, yeah, he's not free. He's gone.
Yeah.
So he is not in a better place. Don't pretend he is.
No, but the world is a better place for him having been in it.
Yes.
And
yes, it is.
Sometimes that's the best you can hope for.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Jeff Substitute,
Uh-oh.
do we have any listener mail this week?
Oh, we do.
Or are we just going to try to coast on stories?
I'll soldier on as you as you mentioned here. Let's see.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. We can come back to you.
Somebody brought up, but I'm not sure that there's really a religious aspect to this, but it's just interesting.
Uh-huh.
In that this is brought to us by Steve Molino.
Okay.
And he's saying, it appears that astronaut Scott Kelly, who spent a year in space on the ISS, while his identical twin brother, who was also an astronaut, did not. After coming back and reacclimating to Earth, it appears that Scott's DNA is now 7% different from his brother, so he is no longer an identical twin.
Wait, say that last bit again? What
He
was
went to
the
space and he came back totally different. 7% different.
Yeah, so his DNA is 7% different. So he's no longer... I guess
this was not from time dilation.
No.
This is not the twin
No,
thing.
I imagine this is
where you travel at near light speed and
space
out
radiation. I can only imagine. I don't know exactly what it is. Imagine 7% change, and that was just by orbiting Earth for a year. He was up there for a year, so not even going out into deep space.
Yeah.
He says, this brings up a couple of interesting ideas. First, it shows how tied we are to this planet. We weren't just dropped here by some outside force, supernatural or otherwise, but grew out of the Earth.
I agree, but that doesn't follow.
No.
I mean, just because your DNA changes assuming your DNA changes when you go out into space, and it wasn't a measurement error, you're still you, and I sure don't want to jump back into the teleportation argument that we've gnawed on for weeks and weeks.
Now, mind you, I didn't have a chance to vet this.
Yes.
But I think I read some article about it too as well. So apparently it's a thing. So different DNA.
Well,
changes your DNA.
Okay.
Strange.
Do we want to discuss the philosophical aspects of if your DNA changes, you are or aren't essentially the same person?
Yes. Are you even human anymore?
Yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure you are.
No.
Stuff about you changes all the time.
Yeah, well, it's like, what's the difference between, how much of a difference is there between chimps and humans DNA-wise? And, if you change more than that, okay, what does that mean?
I guess. We should really look more into this story, or someone should email us before next time and...
Or hell, even
detail.
in the chat room, please correct me if I'm completely wrong.
That means we have to watch the chat room. Oh, hi, people.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, Ciera, I think you had a story or had something to say about a conversation you had this week.
Yeah, I work in a call center, which... Anyway,
Oh.
and I have this tendency where I don't want to strictly talk about people's issues about their finances, because that's basically what I do. Sometimes I have conversations with people, and we had someone who was a nun that called and spoke to me. And I mentioned, and I never mentioned that I'm an atheist because,
Sure.
I could get in trouble at work. And I mean, my coworkers know, but my members don't. So anyway, she encouraged, I told her that when I was Catholic, I wanted to be a nun. And she encouraged me that I should still try to be a nun. Although I didn't say when I was Catholic, I just said I wanted to be a nun growing up.
And that is true?
That is true.
For how long, and what was it that made you think that would be a good idea?
So when I was a kid, I lived in Roswell, New Mexico, and there's actually a convent out there with cloistered nuns. And we would go on spring break. This is how we would spend our spring break. We would go to their garden.
Sounds like
and we
a
would
party.
We would pull their weeds. And only 2 nuns were allowed to talk to us. The rest of them were cloistered. They had to run away if we acknowledged them. Yeah.
Whoa.
Although their garden was very peaceful. I like being outside.
I'm sure.
Wait, is it because they were not supposed to talk?
Oh, hell no, that's definitely. Okay. I didn't want to be a cloistered nun. I wanted to be like a Ciera nun, just outward and expressive like how I am.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, she told me about a bunch of different orders around the Austin area, and that 3 of her children pursued religious life out of her 5 kids, which to me, that's a little bit unusual. Normally people, they have like 1 kid that goes on to religious life. Well, Catholics, I should say. I grew up Catholic, but most of my friends that are entering seminary or religious life are the only ones in their family. But to answer your question, how did I think that was a good idea? I just really wanted to help people, and I thought that God was calling me to be a nun, and I would go on these retreats, and at the very end, they would say, okay, it's time for the vocation call. If you feel like you're called to marriage, stand up. And the majority of the room stood up because nobody wants to be a nun or a priest. Like, come on, let's be real. I'd rather get married.
And it's an either-or situation, right? You have to either be a nun or get married.
Exactly. Well, actually,
because they're Catholic.
Actually, they did give us the option of standing up if you felt called to the single vocation.
Oh.
But if you were single, you weren't in religious life and you weren't married, so I guess you didn't matter as much.
They didn't say it in an openly contemptuous way, like, all you old maid losers or something.
Yes, but you were definitely in a tier that was not.
But yeah, so I guess I kind of felt pressured to stand up when they did the calling for a religious life. And there was one time I heard a nun speak, and she talked about like how if she didn't become a nun, she would have married her boyfriend. And I remembered I asked her, I said, well, do you like this? Do you think I should look into it? And she was this little Mexican nun, and she was just like, oh, it's like candy. If you try it, you might like it, you might not. You should try it. And I'm glad I never tried it.
Okay.
Can you get divorced from Jesus?
I know that there are, people. I actually had a teacher in middle school whose husband was a priest who left the church, the priesthood and married her, and he was ordained and everything. So, he had made his vows and he broke up with God anyway.
I wonder if he can get like half the universe. That would be.
I mean, I can totally imagine somebody coming and saying, Father, I want an annulment. That's right. At first, I thought that Jesus and I had something special between us, but then I found out that he's married to a whole bunch of other people.
That's right.
Well, if Christ is married to the church, like, he's totally like
he's
at least monogamish, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, if
they have to sign that NDA, and it's just.
I mean, if you're a priest, like you basically have a relationship with a lot of people. You just can't have sex with any of them. You can't. I'm not saying some of them don't.
Right.
Right.
Well,
you're not supposed to.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, you apparently can.
Yeah, exactly. You're not supposed to, but you can.
So, Okay, so I think at least a few people have expressed concern about us or other people they may know in Austin because there has been some news about our city recently.
Yes.
Apparently, I think it was up to 6 people were, 2 people were killed and 4 people injured by bombs sent in through the mail. And
there's 7 explosions, I think.
So yeah, I guess it was 7.
Was it
is
primarily
that counting
FedEx?
the one that he blew himself up in? Because that is apparently what happened.
Really?
Today.
Wow, there were 7 explosions and then
himself.
Oh. Man.
We have a policy on this show instituted by Jeff that we don't glorify bad people who get identified. At least we don't use their name.
Yeah.
So I will just say that Binky was caught or surrounded by the police in Pflugerville, which is the part of town that you and Jeff actually.
I live in Round Rock, just a little bit north,
area.
but Jeff lives in Pflugerville.
Yeah. And by the way, he's fine.
Yes.
Just so
Everyone's
you know,
fine.
He actually has a new job. We're not covering because he.
Yeah. No. Yes. Oh. Wow.
And, I have a story here about the details of Binky's life, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it, but...
just the highlights.
Yeah. I don't even know if there are very exciting highlights. There's some speculation that he was kind of Christian and kind of right-wing, but also... it seems like the blogs that they dug up were years old, and he hadn't been keeping up with that kind of thing much. So,
It wasn't industrious little.
It did mention that he was part of a devout Christian family that he was homeschooled, right?
Yeah, he was homeschooled. That's what I've heard.
Right.
Oh, those homeschool kids.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to overgeneralize and say, the vast majority of homeschooled kids grow up to be definitely not murderers.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
But there is a little bit of a it figures element.
just a trifle.
Yeah. So anyway, the TLDR is we're fine in Austin. None of the 6 people are anyone we knew, although we're very sorry about
they were,
people.
and this guy was targeting primarily, I believe,
African Americans.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was actually at dinner the other night, and I was sitting at the bar and this couple sat next to me, and the wife said, "I think it's a terrorist," and I didn't ask her exactly what she meant by that, but
she probably didn't mean a Christian homeschooled terrorist.
That was the first thing that came to mind.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's that they were making any assumptions about race or religion,
right?
But they probably had a different kind of person in mind.
Yeah. Now, I've been hearing lots, and everybody trying to insist that yes, he's a terrorist, blah blah blah, and I'm going. I don't know. It seems like you need some sort of an agenda to be a terrorist, and since he was targeting specific people of specific race, that would be terrorism, sure.
Well, what is a terrorist by definition? Because I feel like it is somebody who is using violence in some capacity to terrify people, right?
Well, there are guys who, if you're trying to terrorize people, I guess that's the definition. Do we know what the definition of terrorism is?
Yes. Let me look.
Okay.
You were looking it up? Awesome.
Definition of a terrorist.
You were ahead of me.
According to Google, my best friend.
Okay.
A person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims.
Okay.
See, I don't see a political angle on that. At least,
not necessarily.
I haven't read of one yet.
Right. They're still trying to figure out Binky's motives.
Yes. He was certainly terrifying.
Now, that is a dictionary definition, although I'd also be interested in knowing how law enforcement agencies in the United States what they think of as terrorism that they can legally prosecute under that label.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Well, white people can be terrorists too.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Anybody can be a terrorist. But yeah, when she said that, I wanted so badly to just be like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Especially
color do
it
you
would
think
be
his skin
interesting to
is?
go
Yeah.
find that person now and ask if they still think it was a terrorist.
Maybe I'll go back to that same bar.
Yeah, it's
Maybe.
a creepy smiling face. Yeah.
Terrorism is defined in Title 22, Chapter 38, U.S. Code 2656F as premeditated, politically motivated violence perpetrated against non-combatant targets by subnational groups or clandestine agents. Oh, so according to that
Subnational groups.
version,
What a cool phrase.
well, that seems to imply that in the United States legal code, it's not enough to just be committing violence to scare people. You also have to be part of a group.
Right, or at least aligned with one. Yeah.
Well, the scary thing is that we don't know if there are other people involved. Hopefully there's not, and hopefully
Right.
that's the end of the bombings.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. As far as we know so far, he didn't seem to be acting on behalf of a group.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing, and I'm going to tangent a little, but I've heard a fair bit about Al-Qaeda, and you know, they do a lot of amateur video productions,
Sure. Yeah.
which are really crappy, and they put out a lot of propaganda. And one of the things that they seem to do is try to be sort of a, how should I say, grassroots viral kind of terrorism, where they don't necessarily like organize these things, but they tell people what to do through their media outreach.
How to do it.
They encourage people to blow other people up, and they often just like casually take credit for stuff that happens, whether or not they're sure that one of their guys did it.
Sure.
Which is interesting because it makes it a little bit of a more of a gray area for somebody to be a member of that organization, right? Because, you know, they'll say, I'm doing this for Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda will say, oh, yeah, that guy totally did it for the glory of us. But basically, it's just random people without a clear unified set of principles on in many cases.
Right.
And I'm probably totally talking out my ass right now. This is just remembered stuff.
Yeah. But there's an ideology going on there, at least.
For sure, yeah.
So.
And fuck Al-Qaeda.
Yes.
Yes.
And fuck that guy. Binky.
Yeah, Binky.
Binky. Fuck Binky.
Yeah. So how are we doing on mail?
Well, let me see. This one's from Greg. The brief discussion on how some Christians seem to think that non-believers have never heard of Christianity was one I found interesting, as it is something I have wondered. You mentioned chick tracts, and I assume you're familiar with them.
Oh, very.
Yes, but they nearly all follow the same pattern. 1, the sinner is told that God has a son, Jesus. 2, the sinner is told that Jesus came to earth and died for their sins. And 3, sinner is told that if they accept Jesus and thank him for doing this, they get to avoid hell.
Sure.
Most of the sinners have heard of God, and some have heard of Jesus, but none seem aware that Jesus was God's son or that he died on the cross for them.
Yeah, there's always that moment in chick tracts where it's like, what? Jesus? I've never heard of this guy.
None of them ask for evidence of this claim or ask how it's supposed to work, or if Jesus has died, why does believing in it matter? Or why can't they accept after death? Instead, they instantly become believers. There are a few rare exceptions where a person decides they want to continue sinning or that they like the power that they would have to lose if they converted. But I don't think I have ever seen one where a person simply said, that doesn't seem likely. Do you have any reason for believing it's true?
No. They won't just say, oh, yeah, that doesn't really make sense.
No.
They will react very strongly to it in one way or another. They'll either be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I'd been living with sin all the time. Or they'll be like, what? How dare you talk about Jesus in my presence? Get out before I sick my dogs on you.
And he finishes up with, I don't know why they think like this. Your suggestion that they live in a bubble and have no contact with non-believers does sound plausible. I have also wondered if believing this makes their God slightly less evil. If a person just needs to hear the magic words to know they are true, then they are responsible for the consequences of rejecting them. If a person can hear but not be convinced, then sending the person to hell for eternal torture is absolutely evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ciera is right now falling into the rabbit hole of chick tracts. She's going to be up at 3 a.m. this morning being like, I just got to get through one more of these.
Or I might be at work just, scrolling through while people try to talk to me about religion.
My favorite aspect about chick tracts has always been the fact that they frequently have people giving each other chick tracts in the comic, in the stories, and then the people who receive the tracts are very convinced.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't work that well in real life, but we can prop this up by proxy.
Yeah. It's weird. The evildoers in the chick tracts, it's also like, okay, I made a deal with the devil to get all this great stuff.
Yeah. By the way,
And I know full well that I'll be tortured forever in hell. What the hell kind of stupid deal is that?
Yeah.
It's kind of like getting drunk and knowing you're going to have a hangover later, but you do it anyway.
But
That happens. That has happened to me before.
yeah, but the hangover isn't eternal.
That's good news.
Coming this Christmas to a theater near you, The Eternal Hangover.
Yeah, I guess they have to assume that, what's the brand of Christian apologetics that insists on telling you what's in your own head that you know?
Presuppositional apologetics.
It's like, do they think we're all masochists? That, we're going to sin even though we know we'll be tortured forever in hell.
Or even though we know we're going to be loved and died for in heaven. But,
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Why would I sign up for eternal torture? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I have not really decided after all these years of reading chick tracts. I haven't done it in a while, but I haven't decided whether it's fair to say that these are at least internally consistent or not.
Oh,
I mean, they have a very complex set of rules, but I mean, they also tend to the chick tracts, which you can, if you haven't been inducted into this world yet, you can just go to chick.com and see tons of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of, spittle flinging evil. It's just...
They're very tonally different. I mean, there are sort of wacky, cartoony ones, and there are kind of heartfelt, big-eyed children who are suffering. and there are sort of dramatic, over-the-top, there's one with a sheriff and an outlaw, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah, one of our favorites is, of course, the D&D.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Dark Dungeons.
Dark Dungeons, yeah.
Yay.
The cartoon that teaches you that when you get to level 12 with with your cleric or whatever, you can learn real magic from Satan.
Wow.
Yeah, and those cartoons always end in one of two ways. Either the person just sort of unhesitatingly falls to their knees and begs for forgiveness, or they get kind of picked up and casually flung into a lake of fire after failing the test. And it's about 50-50, I think.
Might be.
All right. Back to news.
Yes.
Made it a third of the way through the show.
Yay.
And we have a news item. Hey, we've got a bit of a nun theme going on, so why not stick with this?
Yeah, sister.
This was submitted by Peter Horvath on Facebook. Thank you, Peter. And the story goes that, wow, what is up with this website design?
Uh-oh.
Wait a sec. All right. Apparently, an 89-year-old nun died, and this was notable because she was at the time involved in some kind of legal battle with Katy Perry.
Mm-hmm.
The 89-year-old collapsed and died Friday during a court proceeding related to the case, an ugly court battle between one of the world's most renowned pop artists, Katy Perry, and a group of nuns over a real estate deal turned extremely tragic when one of the sisters involved in the case died in court on Friday.
Wow.
So
I
don't know.
Tragic.
I'm not sure there's a religious angle
I don't know about
on that.
extremely tragic.
God is on Katie's side.
Look, I'm not saying I'm glad the nun's dead, but I mean, she was 89. That's a pretty healthy
She has a good run,
to make it. Probably wasn't enjoying being wrapped up in a legal battle for a few years, but it's something to do. I don't know.
Yeah. There's not really a religious angle here. It's just kind of wacky. Katy Perry and nuns.
Sister Catherine Rose was one of the nuns fighting Katy Perry over the singer's Los Feliz property on which a former convent of the Los Angeles Archdiocese once stood.
Oh, okay.
Holding nothing back, Sisters Rita Callanan and Holtzman of the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart talked to Fox News, because of course they did.
Yeah.
For the first time since an LA County judge passed a ruling against them, and in the process, clearing the way for the LA Archdiocese to sell their Los Feliz convent to singer Katy Perry. Wait, what's going on here? You have stolen the property of the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart. Please, Archbishop, do what is right, Callahan pleaded. On the nuns' website, Stand with the Sisters, the caption, Rest with the angels of our most precious treasure, is seen above a picture of Sister Catherine Rose. I am not getting from all this what was going on with that
Sounds
lawsuit.
like their argument is with the Archdiocese.
I guess.
Yeah, why is Katy Perry being pulled into this?
Yeah.
Good question.
Does Katy Perry have more money
story.
than the Catholic Church? Maybe she bought.
It seems like, okay, so the sisters have lived at the 8-acre property since 1973.
Okay.
Claim to have documents proving they're the rightful owners.
All right.
And Katy Perry, I guess, bought it?
Well, that would suggest that they sold it. Who sold it to Katy Perry?
That is a good question, and I'm
And
frantically
it sounded like
Googling,
it sounded like the Archdiocese did.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then their argument, the nuns' argument, is with the Archdiocese.
Right. I am seeing the same basic elements of this story over and over again.
Right.
I mean, they're all about the nun who died. Let's see.
A nun dies in a courtroom.
All right.
And that's all that they can talk about.
So the nuns bought the property. They wanted to sell the convent to restaurateur Dana Hollister, but a judge ruled in 2016 that the nuns' sale was invalid, and then Katy Perry bought it from the archdiocese.
Okay.
And Hollister, the person who was purchasing it, was ordered to pay Katy Perry $5 million in punitive damages for interfering with that sale.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. All right. So we
This
got
is
the
weird and twisted.
we got the archdiocese,
confusing.
which I suppose technically owns the property. We got the nuns who have a vested interest, so to speak.
Yeah, they want
A
to stay
vestal
there.
interest. And they say they own the property. Okay.
Wow.
That is
Now, I've noticed
that is a weird
that
story.
Christians sometimes have a weird idea of what's theirs and what's not.
True.
Which famous apologist was it who insisted he didn't have to pay his taxes on what?
A bunch of them, I think.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
it's like
Kent Hovind
Kent
actually
Hovind. That's
went
the
to
one.
jail. For
Yeah,
it.
he probably still thinks he was. You know, it was unfair. They have this strange, toxic sense of fairness.
Yeah, he owned a dinosaur park before Ken Ham opened his Ark Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's bizarre.
All right. Who's got something else for us to talk about?
Well, speaking of Katy Perry,
Yeah.
if you hear on American Idol, there was a gentleman who auditioned and he had never kissed a woman before. He said he wanted to save his first kiss for a relationship. Katy Perry said, well, why don't you come over here and let me give you a kiss on the cheek? And then he went up and she pecked him on the mouth without his permission. Dun, dun, dun.
Assault.
That's assault. Yeah.
Wait, well, so how did it go for him?
I guess he was upset about it. Like,
Really?
You know,
Okay.
Yeah.
he was just, disappointed that he can't have his first kiss with someone he actually likes.
Oh, come off it. So,
Hey,
so what you're saying is he kissed a girl and he did not like it.
There's a little issue of bodily autonomy here, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if she did that without his permission and he didn't like it, then he has every right to turn it down and be upset about it.
Yeah, there was not consent, and so this was bad.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right.
And Katy Perry was a devout Christian at one point. So she was going to become a Christian singer, or she was a Christian singer at one point.
Yeah.
But,
Times change.
people change.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I got one.
All right.
This one from Jim.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear your answer to the movement that's in effect saying that the reason we have school shootings is because we've taken God out of our schools. I have a lot of religious friends, relatives, and neighbors, and I hear this all the time. I wonder why other non-Christian countries don't have the same problem in their schools.
Didn't we spend a significant... What
We
is
did,
the
I
date on
thought.
this email?
Yeah.
This is
I heard that
the
podcast.
7th.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on this email, I think.
Yeah. Could be.
Bummer. What, you're going to call yourself done with that?
I don't know.
I mean,
man.
what else have we got here?
Oh, boy. Right. There's not... much.
So we have a question here.
Continue with more news, please.
Oh, boy.
We'll try to isolate some more.
Well, we do have a one from a guy that says, do you guys ever go to atheist conventions?
Yeah.
And I will be at one. I will be at the American Atheist Convention with a number of people, actually, including Ciera, right? Mm-hmm. Coming along as crew.
Oh.
I never heard back, and then I made plans this weekend. Bummer.
This weekend is not the convention.
It's not?
In like 2 weeks.
Oh, it's in 2 weeks. Okay, then maybe so.
Okay, well, consider yourself hearing back now, and go check with Mark, too.
I will.
Cool. I don't usually go to conventions.
Yeah.
I should, but I don't.
I offered both Jeff and Dennis that you guys could come along with us, but Jeff has become more busy, and Dennis couldn't make it either.
And I am ferociously busy as well. So,
got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can check us out, and I believe, Mark, are we doing a show on Friday? Is it? Thank you. Okay. Well, be there Friday. Don't miss it. Friday, noon to 2. So arrive on time for the convention, and you can catch me and Tracy, and then you can catch Eric and Jamie doing their Talk Heathen shtick. So there, I did a news for you. I did a mail for you. And let's see. We also have this news story about, or the headline, and this was submitted by Julian. It says, Christianity as default is gone. The rise of a non-Christian Europe. How is this news?
I was going to say, hasn't Europe been not really very Christian for a long time?
Been kind of on that track for a while yet now, as far as I knew. Europe's march toward a post-Christian society, this is in The Guardian today, has been starkly illustrated by research showing a majority of young people in a dozen countries do not follow a religion. The survey of 16 to 29-year-olds found the Czech Republic is the least religious country in Europe, with 91% of that age group saying they have no religious affiliation. Wow. 70 to 80% of young adults in Estonia, Sweden, and the Netherlands are non-religious. The most religious country is Poland, where 17% of young adults define themselves as non-religious, and then Lithuania at 25%. Let's see, some more numbers. After the Netherlands, we've got England, around, looks like 70, 65%, and then Hungary, Belgium, France, Finland, and then down at the bottom with Poland. Poland is the most religious country, followed by Lithuania, Austria. Interestingly, Russia, it looks like it's almost half religious.
Okay.
Which is kind of funny with all the talk about godless communists.
Yeah,
but
I didn't see anything
Russian
about Italy
Orthodox?
on there.
Italy?
No, I don't see Italy on there.
Maybe they just weren't one of the countries surveyed. I feel like Italy would be pretty high on the religious side.
One would think, but then again, they got, the Vatican.
That's true.
And that's a separate state. What's that one's total?
Oh, yeah. Did they? I'm pretty sure they did not count that.
I can see why Poland would be really religious, because that's where Pope John Paul is from. I don't know if that's the reason, but...
according to a poll in Italy separately, 83% of Italy's residents are Christian and 12% are non-religious.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't come from the same survey, so I don't know if their methodology for asking the questions is different in any way. But there we go.
Well, okay. I found an email.
Hooray.
Found a mail. All right. This one's from Costin.
Costin.
In one of the latest episodes, you mentioned that if school shootings happen because God isn't allowed in schools anymore, then it is weird that other much less Christian countries, such as Japan, Australia, the Scandinavian countries, etc.,
What's the date
don't
on
have
this
any
one?
shootings. This one's recent.
Okay. This is a follow-up on our discussion
yes,
last week.
it is. Well, in Eastern Orthodox Christianity, they like to say that the devil goes after the more pious people. They claim that Satan goes as far as physically harassing people such as monks, nuns, and priests. The reasoning is that all the other worldly people are already in his trap. They've already embraced sin or other fake religion, and he's got them. This is how a lot of people rationalize these things within the context of their religion. And I can easily imagine that a lot of fundamentalist Christians in America see themselves as righteous and just and God's people, and that Satan tries as hard as he can to break them. Those Japanese pagans, though, they're already going to hell.
Okay. Wait. I'm not following exactly. Satan goes after the more pious ones.
Right.
And therefore, how does this relate to different levels of, okay, so he causes all the school shootings because there are so many Christians. Is that the logic?
Let's see. It's why other countries don't have the school shooting. Right. I'm trying to put it together. Because they're already
Right. He doesn't have to get them.
He doesn't have to get them. He uses school shootings somehow to get more sinners. Somehow school shootings create more sinners.
Is it school shootings or mass shootings in general that he's
I don't know.
Beefing up? I mean, I know we have a particularly large... I could see a certain logic to him going after kids because it would be like, oh, no. Well, no, that can't be right because kids haven't reached the age of accountability yet, so he can't have them.
Well, that depends if the age of accountability counts.
Right. It also depends what it is. I mean, I guess if it's over 13, then snapping them up in high school, like, okay, so let's say you're Satan,
right?
And you want to murder unrepentant sinners, right? Because once you reach the age of accountability, I'm just trying to game this out here.
Right.
Ciera, you're a former Catholic.
That's weird, man.
I'm trying to find an article that I stumbled upon. So, that I could share. But what was the question? Sorry.
Okay.
We're trying to wrap our brains around the logic here.
All right. So, the United States is one of the most religious countries in the world.
Right.
Yep.
And yet we have by far the most mass shootings. And then this emailer said, here's a rationale that Christians may use, which is that Satan goes after the pious ones. And so we're trying to work through what Satan's game plan is.
Yeah,
Because
if Satan is only focused on the good people, who is creating the bad people or causing the bad people to do these things? Is it God? Is it themselves?
Well, let's say Satan is working through Binky and other shooters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm going to ask Costin to write us again and take us through the logic, because I don't think that answered as a rationale.
well, was he presenting this as an answer that he came up with?
No, it's one that he's heard from religious people.
Okay,
and
so
stuff.
maybe he should send us an example of people making this argument so that we don't have to try to piece it together third hand.
Might be.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Well.
Because God and Satan, what a weird pantheon.
Yeah.
It's just And yet, one's good, one's evil. Yet the evil one is working for the good one. What? Wait a minute. What? It's just weird.
Right. Now, a similar story to the last one I read came up at, it looks like Humanists UK put out a press release linking... Wait a minute. No, this is pretty much the same story. It's just with a little bit more gloating in it.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, the number of young adults in the UK who identify as having no religion is at 70%. Interestingly, this is actually kind of interesting. 6% of people in Britain identify as Muslim, which is a small number, but it's high when you compare it to the United States. Like I believe we're less than 1% here.
Really? Wow.
And it's particularly high when you consider that, when you take away that 70%, you've got 10% who identify as Catholic, 7% as Anglican. That's the bulk of the Christian population. So 17% divided by 6%, that's about a third as many Muslims as Christians, which is a lot.
Right.
And here I am just doing math on the air. With some kind of point in mind, I had assumed.
At least it's not algebra.
Right.
I found a story from LifeSite News.
Oh, well.
Can I share this headline?
You can.
Rally exposes Philippines divorce
We're maybe going to treat this as a double dose of shit internet apologists say today.
Oh, should I save it then?
No, you can go ahead. We're getting close to that.
Okay. By the way, LifeSite News banned me from Facebook because of the comments I made.
They banned you from their Facebook page?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, my.
I said something and then they said, "May God have mercy on your sinful soul." And I was like,
Wow.
Yeah, you too.
They know that when they ban you from their page, you don't actually cease to exist, right?
I still I'll share the articles and I'll be like, this is stupid just for this reason. I can still share their pieces. But anyway.
Yeah, it's not like Yzma is pulling a lever and you're falling into a crocodile moat or something.
Right.
I mean, it just means you can't read their bullshit anymore.
So it says, this is old. This is old news. But
That's okay.
a campaign to say no to legalized divorce is underway. Or to legalize divorce
Give us the year,
is underway 2015.
Okay.
In Philippines, as pro-family advocates find ways to educate Filipinos on the country's proposed House bill. So, let's see here. Remember, Dr. Bulister condemned the bill, explaining the harm caused by widespread divorce to the assembly president. Remember, he said, the only country left with measures that forbid divorce is the Philippines. We shall not surrender the fight to proponents who rely on foreign backing to further their anti-life agendas.
Now, I'm hearing...
Anti-life.
In my head, I'm hearing the announcer from Arrested Development say, they did surrender to the forces.
I like to get...
How did that turn out? What's happening with the Philippines in divorce right now? Well,
that's what I'm trying to figure out. I was trying to find
I'll Google while you read that.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to find an article because then that's what made me think of it, because I did see an article on LifeSite News that talked about how they are trying to legalize divorce in the Philippines, which is a very, very Catholic nation.
Right.
Oh, holy shit. Well, maybe that story actually came up in your feed because it was timely, because apparently they legalized divorce 2 days ago.
Yay!
That would do it.
So I think we've successfully followed the trail that led you to that thing.
let's see. What else did this article say?
Well, congratulations, Philippines.
This is not hysterical enough to justify reading a LifeSite News article yet. So I want some more hysteria.
The pro-family advocate said that the divorce bill is like other nefarious bills proposed in recent years. Western ideology, meaning the United States, has influenced Filipino laws to pass a law that promotes contraception and valueless sex education, which has already led to more calls for abortion on demand, same-sex unions, and divorce.
Valueless sex education. Well,
we're experts on that.
A lot of states do teach abstinence-only education, which is valueless.
Including Texas.
They're right. Yeah. I think Texas is actually not one of the ones that has a law saying that they must teach abstinence only. But you're nodding because yes, they are, or because I'm right.
No, I think because you're right.
Okay. But they still get away with a lot of crap and have very poor sex education in general.
So what were you going to say?
Well, let's see. Okay, so here's what you need to know about moves to legalize divorce in the Philippines, according to the Philippine Star. Okay. This is actually on site.
Okay.
What options are available for Filipinos who want to get out of marriage? Currently, the only legal recourse. Okay, March 19th marked a monumental day for advocates of divorce. The lower house of Congress voted 134 to 57 to approve a bill that would be an act instituting absolute divorce and dissolution of marriage in the Philippines. So it looks like it has not become actual law yet.
Oh, okay.
But it's been voted on, and that passed.
That article also says the only other, according to the one that you're reading, says the only other country where divorce is illegal is the Vatican.
Wow, they just keep coming back. Hey, is Pope Francis available to pay us a visit? Oh, damn it, he's not here.
He's not here anymore.
Crickets. Yeah, but hey, if you're married in the Philippines, take advantage of it right now.
Yep.
Divorce is great.
If necessary.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's enough of that. But it is actually the normal time when we would cut to shit, internet apologists say. And
what have you
here's
got
what we
for
got
us
on the
today?
block this week.
All right.
Hey, Mike Pence.
Uh-oh.
For if you have not yet seen John Oliver's segment for the week, he spent a solid 20 minutes or more talking about Mike Pence. He promised at the beginning, I watched this all the way through twice, actually, because my son hadn't seen it the first time. He said he went over Mike Pence's crazy, scary religiosity for a while, and he also, I'm trying to find the article that I had pulled up. What is that guy's name again?
Matt Walsh's Daily Wire.
Wait. You got it? Or, I mean, did you? Oh, there it is, Daily Wire. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So John Oliver promises at the top of the segment that he will say something nice about Mike Pence by the end. The nice thing is I kind of like his rabbit. And Mike Pence has an adorable rabbit whose name is Marlon Bundo, which is
okay.
Not as bad as I would expect from Mike Pence.
Could be worse. Yeah.
It's kind of okay. But Mike Pence's daughter is also, I guess, producing a children's book about Marlon Bundo. But
Okay.
before this, John Oliver announced that he was going to produce his own children's book about that same rabbit. Only in this one, he's gay and looking for love at the White House. And he put it on sale at betterbundobook.com. And it sold out in like a day.
All right.
After he announced it. It outsold Mike Pence's book. So I'm giving you context for this week's story, and actually I'm going to credit Ciera with this one because she mentioned this fellow that she follows, Matt Walsh, and I looked him up, and he had a thing about Mike Pence and about this whole episode, and it seemed like really good fodder. So here we go.
All right.
The headline is, "The left's insane hatred of Mike Pence is nothing but anti-Christian bigotry."
Whoa. It's not that they actually do bad things. We just don't like them.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Ciera, you haven't been around a lot for this show, but in this segment, feel free to interrupt me a lot.
All right.
Anytime I say something crazy, just throw in...
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the subtext of this article or whatever?
Yeah.
Does Marlon Bundo get a little anal or a lot?
Good question. Alleged comedian John Oliver launched a delusional attack on Mike Pence's daughter's children's book this week. Something about the story of a bunny giving a tour of the White House incensed him so much that he felt the need to create his own book featuring a gay version of the bunny from Charlotte Pence's book. His fans then proceeded to spam her Amazon page with insults and negative reviews. Man, I kind of want to read those now.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Dennis, can you?
Yeah, but this
can
thing
you track
takes
those down?
things. This thing takes so much of that out of context here. So, what am I looking for?
Charlotte Pence Amazon book, maybe? Why? Well, I'm not sure they could even explain why. They are driven by a blind, irrational hatred of Mike Pence. And not because it's just funny.
Yes. He's a comedian.
A hatred somehow even more pronounced than their hatred of Donald Trump. And a few more examples of how much they hate him. Joy Behar called Mike Pence mentally ill because he prays to Jesus. Really?
So there are 85% 5-star ratings on Amazon for Charlotte's book, 3% 4-star. There is 11% 1-star. Let's look at the 1-star rating.
Mostly really good, although it could be that like internet outrage has driven more Christians to come and slam this book with good reviews. Yeah. Let's hear a couple of those bad ratings.
Horrible. Plan to return it from Juice Master.
Okay.
Warning, this is not for the Marlon Bundo book you were looking for.
Of course.
I had from Ben Rathert. I had the misfortune of not paying attention to what I was clicking when I bought this book. I had intended to purchase to enjoy an inspiring story of two male bunnies that fall in love and want to get married, no matter what the mean old stink bug says. However, due to my overexcitement for bunny marriage equality and lack of attention, I ended up with whatever this is. I have not and will not be reading this book. I am going to assume that anyone else that purchased this book was doing so because they were really trying to buy. You have my heartfelt condolences regarding your purchase, and I hope that you will be able to seek a refund from Amazon so that you can purchase the book we all want instead. I know I sure am. Let's see. As someone who shops frequently on Amazon, I have a regular routine of checking a few 5-star, few middle of the road, and a few 1-star reviews to get well-rounded feedback before purchase. Oops. Let's see. Here's one. My daughters love bunnies. But this book didn't hold their attention. The illustrations are washed out looking. The story is boring, according to my pair of 4-year-old book critics. I regret wasting my money on this book. At least the proceeds go to charities, though it does not name which ones. If your kids are fans of Bundo or bunnies in general, and you want a sweet story that teaches love and tolerance of those who are very different from you, I recommend buying A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo instead.
Okay. So back to the story. Now Matt Walsh is just listing off grievances of, of other things people have done to hate on poor old Mike Pence. A gay figure skater spent the entire Olympics ranting about Pence, even though Pence never said or did anything to him.
Oh, really?
Go on.
Yeah.
What's next?
The actors in a Broadway play came out on stage after a performance and lectured Pence, who was simply sitting in the audience and had not been disruptive at all. I remember that story. That was at Hamilton.
It's like this guy hasn't heard anything Pence has ever said.
Yeah. And I'll just say, oh boy, what did they say again? I'm trying to remember.
I feel like when Mike Pence gets bullied, does he make a big deal about it like Trump does, like acting like, oh, woe is me, somebody said something bad?
It kind of seems like he just sends his surrogates out to whine for him. This was a few months ago. He was at a performance of Hamilton, which I've got tickets for in a couple months.
Yeah.
They came out on stage afterwards. We are the diverse Americans who are alarmed and anxious that your new administration will not protect us, our planet, our children, our parents, or defend us and uphold our inalienable rights, he said. We truly hope that this show has inspired you to uphold our American values and to work on behalf of all of us. Whoop.
God.
What was that?
Trump demanded they apologize.
Oh, there was one more that Matt wrote that was pretty insane.
Gay rights militants harassed Mike Pence while he attended a St. Patrick's Day parade in Georgia. Whoops. Where's that one?
Savannah, Georgia ruined Mike Pence's St. Patrick's Day visit.
Instead of seeing a bunch of green flags, he saw a lot of rainbow flags and signs that said he's a homophobe.
He just doesn't like the other colors.
That's
he
not
just
harassment.
Likes green.
That's just true.
Yeah.
I mean, well, okay. It's harassing him a little.
Yeah, but, it's like they're not going after random people.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's not working under a president that's harassed
Oh, God.
many people before. But,
Jimmy Kimmel bragged that Holiday makes gay movies in order to upset Mike Pence. Over 80,000 people have donated to Planned Parenthood in Pence's name. Ooh. Thousands of people spent days heaping scorn on Pence when they found out he won't go out on lunch dates with women other than his wife.
That we know of.
Okay.
And so on. I mean, these all sound like trolling incidents, and he's certainly making it clear that the trolling has worked. So, all right. Pence has responded gracefully to these attacks, or not responded to them at all. He hasn't done anything to goad these people or encourage this constant barrage of mockery, but the left can't help it themselves.
Good.
They just hate Mike Pence.
Yeah, randomly. Sure. Not for any reasons.
Mm-hmm. They hate him with the fire of 10,000 suns. Why? Well, because he's Christian. That is really the only reason.
Of course.
It's true.
Willful ignorance.
Yeah. It's true that they don't hate every Christian. In fact, many of the people on the left who despise Mike Pence probably would claim to be Christian themselves. But the Christianity they find acceptable is the kind that finds everything they do acceptable. They hate the Christianity that preaches sexual morality.
I don't like it either, but that's just me.
Wow.
So, if I can break this down for a second.
Yeah.
He's saying that they hate him for no reason first, but then he's saying that, kind of sideways implying that he knows that he, openly shits on what they do and like.
Yeah.
And, that's a reason.
Yeah.
Even if you think that it's appropriate to shit on what other people like and do, you can't really claim to be surprised or offended that they answer, right?
Yeah, they respond, especially with this person's in a position of power.
Yeah. This is the simple fact. If you loathe only the sorts of Christians who believe that the homosexual act is a grave sin and abortion is an abomination, you loathe the religion itself.
Nice for you to speak of the whole religion. Yep.
Yeah. It says the version of Christianity they prefer is not a version of Christianity at all, but a slightly Christianized version of secular humanism.
Aha. So,
yeah.
How does this guy determine who's a real Christian and who's not?
Well, you are more familiar, Ciera, with this Matt. What's his name?
Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh.
I actually emailed him because he's doing a homeschool convention in Dallas, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm like, just so you know, I'm very different than you, but I want to talk to you because." Because even though I don't like what you write, you kind of don't really seem to give a shit what other people think. So I want to meet you, but he never responded. Mm-hmm. He actually posted.
Yes.
He posted a status that said, try to set aside 30 or 45 minutes every morning for prayer and scripture reading. It will change your life in ways you never expect. I absolutely guarantee it. People who don't believe in the power of prayer have never given it a real shot. Mm-hmm. When Jesus and I were together, I spent a lot of time on my knees, but whatever. People who doubt the usefulness of the Bible have never seriously read it and reflected upon it. It is impossible, literally impossible, to devote serious time to serious prayer and not feel God working on your heart. It cannot be done. I dare anyone to prove me wrong. And I said, I guess the 2 years in youth ministry, the Bible I own that is nearly falling apart and marked up, and the countless hours of my life that were spent in group and individual prayer and mass every Sunday doesn't count. Oh, wait, never mind. They do count. It's just me. I suck and was never a real Christian anyway. But basically, what makes a good Christian is that you follow scripture and you pray and you do all those.
And so Pence has given all his money to the poor? Because that's one of the most important things that Jesus kept saying, wasn't it?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
They can always find ways to de-emphasize those parts.
But basically, I think Matt Walsh and LifeSite News, basically, if you're not part of the American Church, Republican, Catholic of the United States, then you're not a true Christian.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, this perspective that he's got is a little at odds with the usual story we hear about America being a Christian nation. Mm-hmm. And the definition of that seems to vary from time to time. I mean,
no consistency.
A lot of people will say, oh, yeah, we're a Christian nation because we were founded on the principles of Christianity, which we weren't.
No.
But then a lot of them will say, well, look, it's just obvious we're a Christian nation because we're majority Christian. And so by definition, if most people are Christian, we're a Christian nation. But when you start narrowing down things like Matt Walsh does, what did he just say a minute ago? That their version of he puts Christian in quotes when he talks about people who don't believe what they believe. And he says, this is the simple fact. If you loathe only the sorts of Christians who believe that the homosexual act is a grave sin and abortion is an abomination, you loathe the religion itself. Now, I believe more people are supportive of abortion rights than not in the United States. And the acceptance of gay marriage has gone over 50%, to say nothing of people who think that gay marriage shouldn't be okay for dumb technical reasons, but still kind of don't think of themselves as homophobes.
Yeah,
And
so if he's talking about percentage of population.
Right.
Yeah.
The Christian slice of the pie is apparently way, way smaller than Christian nationists would like to say.
And if they're going to call this a Christian nation, they're leaving out some descriptors. It should be a white Christian nation.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. This is a white
But they don't
nation.
want to sound like that.
Well,
at least not openly.
Not openly.
If we're such a Christian nation, then why are we electing all these men that have had multiple wives and lots of affairs? But a lot of my really conservative friends, they always say, well, yeah, those things are immoral, but it's not murder, and they're talking about abortion. So it's worse to think that abortion's okay than it is to cheat on your spouse.
Yet the punishment for all sins is supposed to be the same, right?
Yeah, good
all
point.
Sins are equal, as far as I was led to understand.
Yeah, that's what I learned from Jack Chick comics, bringing this full circle.
Yeah.
That if you've sinned at all, you are as bad as Hitler.
Right.
And there's no way to be good. You can only be forgiven.
Right.
Anyway, we'll wrap this up. I don't know much about Mike Pence. I can't speak to the earnestness of his religious convictions. Boy, if he can't even decide whether Mike Pence is a serious Christian,
yikes.
That is a narrow group. Nobody can say that except for Mike Pence himself and God Almighty. But I do know that the things about Pence which have attracted so much scorn and ridicule, his views on homosexuality and abortion primarily, are 100% pure Christianity. You cannot be a Christian and hold a different view on these topics.
Oh, there you go. He's determined what a real Christian is right there.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so that is a necessary
thing. Yeah.
Sufficient condition to be a Christian, I would bet.
Right.
Because you can be right on about abortion and whatnot and still have other opinions that make you not a Christian. And you cannot hate every Christian who holds these views without hating every real Christian in the world.
Real Christian. I love this language.
Yes. And there you go. Matt Walsh, everybody.
Wow. What a piece of work.
He never emailed me back.
Oh, I'm sad for you.
Yeah, I'm so devastated.
Not very. All right. What else have we got this week? Dennis?
Nothing. I got nothing.
Don't make me end this show early. Don't make me dredge up the teleporter.
I don't wanna, but I got nothing.
All right. What is the chat room talking about?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I don't care about that. Sorry, chat room. I love you very much.
We covered it.
All right. There's no other email or anything?
No.
What have we seen lately? Or what are we watching lately?
What? TV show wise and stuff
whatever.
like that? Well, Jeff and Manda took me to see, what was that? The movie.
What movie?
Wrinkle in Time.
I saw that.
Yeah. What did you think?
It was too much a children's movie to me fully enjoy, but it was
I agree.
it was entertaining.
It was fine.
Yeah.
So Matt Walsh, going back to Matt Walsh, he posted
yes.
an article about why Hollywood hates Christians, and it was referring
That was
to
about a wrinkle in it. No,
it
wait,
was
it must
actually-
have been about The Shape of Water.
No, it was referring to the latest episode of Will and Grace. 'Cause if we're talking about television shows, I'm going to bring up Will and Grace.
Okay.
So in the last episode of Will and Grace, Karen, the high-pitched
This is the
voice one-
reboot of Will and Grace.
The reboot.
from
Okay.
this
Yes.
year, right?
Yes. And so Karen goes into a bakery and wants to order a birthday cake for Donald Trump. And
Okay.
the cake to say MAGA, which stands for Make America Great Again.
Yeah.
And the
MAGA.
bakery owner refuses to bake the cake
Okay.
because it is for Trump and it is supporting Trump.
Oh.
So it
Right.
is.
What a twist.
Yes. So Grace goes in and she's like, look, I don't agree with Trump, but this is my friend. And she actually, as much as I hate saying this, she has the right to have this cake. And so the baker gives in and bakes the cake. But instead of it saying MAGA, it says IMAGAY.
Cute.
Nice.
So in the end, Grace comes to pick up a new cake from the baker, and it is a MAGA cake. And then another gentleman comes in who's supposedly really liberal, but he comes in for a cake, and you find out that he's a really good-looking guy, but you find out that he's actually a Nazi. And Grace says, "Damn it, they're always hot and Nazis. They're either gay or they're Nazis."
So, I mean, I'm thinking through the letters, and I am a gay is actually, it contains the word MAGA. So just blur out a few letters. You can still recover that.
That's right.
Serious question, though. I mean,
Yeah?
we've had a bunch of discussions on the show about bakers refusing to bake somebody a cake on the grounds of their artists and stuff. To be consistent, do we have to say that Baker was out of line?
In the show or in real life?
Yeah, in this story that you told, where this guy decided that his art was too important to be sullied by a MAGA cake that was being given to Trump, I suppose. Is he being as much of a prick as those bakers who are refusing to make a cake for a gay wedding? I hear the control room discussing it. Not as much.
Well, gosh.
That's a tough one.
Is it a violation of professional standards?
Well, the business model is different.
Okay.
Me, I don't have to accept every commission that people present to me.
Right. Oh, you mean it's different for you as an actual artist and not a cake decorator?
But somebody who has a storefront open and I don't know.
Well, also here's a mitigating factor. In the gay marriage cases, I'm not sure that there were ever situations where the baker was being required to make some kind of design acknowledging that it's a gay wedding cake.
Sure.
They just refused to bake a cake, period, or sell them a cake.
Right.
Right?
I think so, yeah.
Well, then how did they know that
I
there was
guess they were
gayness was
told.
even involved?
I feel like there's a case that's still ongoing in front of the Supreme Court right now, right?
I think
don't
so.
know.
Well,
I think it is
as
still.
of December.
A lot of my Christian friends have been posting like pictures of the bakers and the bakery and just saying that, that they have to like close down and that they're losing business. And it's like, well,
Okay. But they don't have to close down because they're being forced by law to close down. They've just lost a lot of business for being public dicks, right?
I assume, yes. Yes, your behavior has consequences.
Yeah. So can we maybe agree that this baker should have gone ahead and made the cake, but said, do the letters yourself?
I
mean, here's a $3 tub of frosting and a little baggie. Write your own damn letters.
Well, here's if the cake for the gay wedding didn't have anything overtly gay on it, then I don't even see how it became an issue. But if the cake that you're asking to be made for Trump says Trump on it, and the guy objects to Trump and doesn't want to make the cake, that's a different thing.
But that's,
you would think.
Well,
I mean,
that's
it's not
what happened
discriminate. Yeah.
Is discrimination if it's against one person? How many people do you have to discriminate against to be guilty of discrimination?
Okay, so kind of if it is for specific reasons that are discriminatory, like let's say that a woman comes into your cake shop and you're like, hey, you're the only woman who's ever come in here before. But I'm not serving you. I don't like women. Okay. That's actionable.
Right.
Right?
But if Joe, the guy who tried to ruin your business and you don't like him anymore, comes in and tries to order something, are you forced to serve him?
I don't think so.
I mean, there used to be a sign that you could put up. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone.
Yep.
Sure.
Is that legal or illegal?
I think it's still legal.
Okay, then, that sign no longer exists, I guess. So, what's the deal?
Also, and this may be getting a little bit fuzzy, but I mean, by law, there are protected statuses.
Yes.
Discriminating against someone for their gender or for their race is specifically prohibited. There's some controversy over like sexual orientation and whether it's included in that. There are some states that have taken steps to make sure that that is not a protected status.
Right. How about ideology?
That's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure that your political opinions are not a protected status.
Good point.
Anyway.
Weird. Yeah. We should probably look this stuff up.
None of us are legal scholars. But if any of you are legal scholars,
please.
write to nonprofits at atheistcommunity.org. You're the one who reads the announcements. Nonprofits Radio.
Yeah, nonprofitsradio.com. Yeah.
No. Well,
what?
Yeah, Nonprofits Radio at, or is it NPR? Shit, where do we get all our mail?
We get, let's see. Our website is www.nonprofitsradio.com.
Okay, I've got nonprofits at atheist-community.org. Sorry about that.
All right.
We don't know our own email address. You can also always hop into discussion at the Facebook group, the Nonprofits Official Discussion Group. So hop on and submit some news next time, and you can always also tweet with hashtag nonprofits news if anything occurs to you at any time that would make a good news story.
Right.
And we've stalled long enough.
I think so.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
it
you
was a pleasure.
I hope to return. This was fun.
Cool.
I liked talking about Will and Grace. I won't do it all the time.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll give my entirely vanilla exit here. That was our show, and we hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks on the 4th of April.